He didn't look like someone who belonged there. At least, that's what the bank employees thought when he stepped through the towering glass doors of that luxury downtown branch. A 16-year-old black boy wearing an old hoodie and slightly faded jeans. His shoes were scuffed. His backpack frayed at the edges. He looked out of place against a backdrop of custom suits, Rolex watches, and leather briefcases. Still, he moved forward, quiet, but confident. Clutched in his hand was a simple envelope. Nothing flashy. Just sealed, worn slightly at the corners. Inside it, a check. He approached the front counter. One of the tellers, a tall man with slicked back hair and a smug expression, glanced down at him, barely hiding his annoyance. "This line is for account holders," the teller said sharply. "I am one," the boy answered, steady. "I'm here to deposit this." He extended the envelope. The teller took it, opened it, then paused. His eyebrows creased. Then he chuckled under his breath. "This check's for $250,000. You sure this ain't some kinda joke?" "It's real," the boy said. "My father gave it to me." The teller turned to the next clerk behind the glass and murmured something, both men laughing just enough to sting. A nearby security guard overheard and stepped closer. "Kid, this ain't the neighborhood credit union," he said, crossing his arms. "You tryin' to pull something slick?" The boy didn't blink. "I'm not here to play. I just need this deposited." The laughter faded as the bank manager stepped out from a side office. He was tall, bald, and broad-shouldered. Wore an expensive three-piece suit. Looked like a man who had power and didn't need to say much to prove it. "What's going on?" the manager asked, walking over. The teller handed him the check and gestured toward the boy. "He says he's here to deposit this. Claims it's from his father." The manager eyed the teen, then turned toward a terminal. He entered the account number printed on the check. Everything stopped. He looked at the monitor, then looked at the boy, then looked back at the screen. Suddenly, his posture changed. He turned the monitor toward the teller, his tone low and serious. "You see that name," he said. The teller leaned in, read the account details, and went pale. "Account holder, Cameron Ellis. Balance, $67,450,000. Founder and CEO, Ellis National Bank." The silence that followed wasn't just awkward, it was heavy. The guard who moments earlier stood tall and smug, now quietly stepped back, adjusting his collar. The teller, mouth slightly open, hands trembling as he realized who he had just mocked. And the manager, voice softer now. "You said your father gave you this?" The boy nodded again, quietly. Just then, the heavy doors of the bank swung open once more. A tall man walked in, dark-skinned, sharp-jawed, dressed in a sleek black suit that looked like it cost more than most people's monthly rent. His presence filled the room before he said a single word. "Cameron Ellis." Everyone in the bank froze. He walked directly over to the boy, placed a hand firmly on his shoulder, then scanned the room with piercing calm. "I sent my son here to make a simple deposit," he said. "Not to be profiled. Not to be humiliated." He looked directly at the teller. "You just reminded me why representation in ownership matters." And then to the manager. "I'll be addressing this in the boardroom." No one dared to respond. And the boy. He just stood there, quiet as always. Because when truth stands tall, it doesn't need to speak loudly. The security guard stepped back slowly, as if hoping to disappear into the shadows. The teller, still frozen. His eyes darted between the boy and the father, searching for a script to follow, but none existed. Because there's no training manual for when you humiliate the heir of the empire you work for. And the manager, well, he was silent too. Cameron Ellis looked each of them in the eye, not with rage, but with something far worse for men like them, disappointment. "I built this institution," he said slowly, voice low but heavy. "From scratch. From nothing. I didn't do that so my son would inherit my bank. I did it so he'd never inherit my struggle. The manager tried to respond, but Cameron raised a hand and shut him down with just a look. You don't get to fix this with a speech, he said. You fix this by reevaluating the entire foundation of how you see people. He turned to his son. You good? The boy nodded. Yeah. Then let's go. But before they could step out, the manager finally found the courage to speak. Sir. Mr. Ellis. I didn't realize. Cameron turned back. And that's exactly the problem. The car ride home was quiet at first. The boy sat in the back seat, staring out the tinted window. His voice finally broke the silence. Why did you send me in there alone? Cameron didn't respond right away. Then he said, because I needed you to see it for yourself. See what? The world, he answered. The way it treats you when it thinks you're nobody. Because one day, someone's going to look you in the face and doubt everything about you. And if you let that shake you, you lose. The boy looked down, processing every word. I wasn't trying to test you, Cameron said. I was showing you something no textbook can. That power. It's not in the money. It's in your presence. It's in knowing who you are, even when others pretend not to see it. That night, the story went viral. Not because someone posted a video, there was no footage. No dramatic footage to loop. But because employees talked. Word spread. And by morning, headlines began circling. Bank staff humiliate black teen, shocked to learn his father owns the bank. Teen quietly teaches a lesson in class, pride, and power. Cameron Ellis, the CEO who let silence speak louder than rage. But for Cameron, it wasn't about publicity. He didn't need viral posts. He needed his son to walk back into any room for the rest of his life knowing who he was. Weeks later, something surprising happened. The same teller who mocked the boy showed up at one of Cameron's public speaking events. He waited in the back row, then approached afterward, not to beg, not to plead, but to ask, how do I unlearn everything I was taught to believe about people? Cameron didn't dismiss him. He looked the man straight in the eyes and said, you start by listening more than you speak, and by accepting the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Then he handed him a small booklet, one Cameron had helped write years ago. Leadership Without Bias, Building Trust from the Ground Up. Start there, he said. As for the boy, he grew. Not just taller, but stronger, wiser, and more importantly, he stayed humble. When asked about that day years later, during an interview after graduating from an Ivy League school, he said, I didn't need them to know who my father was. I just needed to know who I was. He paused, then added, power without purpose is just noise. But purpose with patience. That's legacy. And with that, he closed his speech. No anger. No need to gloat. Just truth. Because sometimes, the quietest people in the room carry the loudest lessons. Like my video and subscribe my channel for more daily videos.